J-E-T-S,
Good job today, man. One at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
and the home of the Jets.
Mr. Primetime.
To our new coaching staff, taking shape.
That's right.
More positive show.
What? We're doing positivity tonight, finally?
I'm gonna try. I can't promise anything, but I'm gonna do my best tonight.
Come on, bro.
What, you don't like this first time offensive coordinator that we have?
I love everything.
Our offensive line coach that was a tight end coach? Get into that.
No, but see, Primetime is catching up. Now you get the fireplace background.
I'm trying.
You see the football. You see all kinds of stuff.
I got a whole lot of shit I haven't even hung up yet.
Well, let's go. What are you waiting for? Was it a fucking 5-year process?
I started working on it the other day, so give me some
It's
time.
good. It looks good. You see, like there's some figurines of football back there.
Yeah. Got the giant helmet, you can see.
I see
Tons of
that.
autographs, too. Tons of autographs on that thing.
See, this is what we're talking about. Positivity. Now it's a new Primetime this year. New
Step by
coaching
step.
staff. That's right. So yeah, it's you never know these days in this world.
No,
Yeah.
my dating life is fucked, so we're not going to talk about that anymore.
It's Super Bowl week, which means there'll be all kinds of news and notes throughout the NFL. You have the Cooper Kupp news today, the Myles Garrett news today. Could there be Garrett Wilson news this week? We don't know, but interesting times for the Jets as they assemble their staff. And I think the one we want to focus on the most is the offensive side of the ball, which has been a concern for the Jets for, I don't know, last 15, 20 years. So you hire a first-time head coach. Okay, not our preference, but you know what? Great press conference, former Jet, spoke with conviction, spoke with passion, seems very intelligent, well-prepared. Okay, if you're going to hire an offensive coordinator, let's make sure the offensive coordinator is not a first-timer because that's not our preference. Okay? They go against the curve, and they get the passing game coordinator from the Detroit Lions, where Aaron Glenn has familiarity, work with him, highly talented, very respectable, innovative, creative, involved in every facet of the team, except calling plays for the Lions, which is okay.
Big problem.
So your thoughts on, before we go into Turner and everybody else, what are your thoughts on our boy Tanner?
I mean, I want to be optimistic. Same thing as Glenn. You know, he entered the NFL, though, in 2020, so very limited NFL experience. Quality control coach, I think, in 2021. Like you said, he's never called plays before, never really had to install his own system. So I think a lot of the belief that we probably have just comes from, the same place that we do with Aaron Glenn, where it's, he's been surrounded by the right people. He knows how it should be done. Now, can he actually implement it on his own?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's having faith in Glenn, working, firsthand with him, seeing his work ethic, seeing what he does. He had a coach against that offense in practice, seeing what roles he played. So you have, it's blind faith, right? We don't know what we're getting. We're hoping that it's this innovative, creative mind. You talk to Lions fans, they tell you one thing. The one, if you want to have a red flag, it's like, all right, if he's that great, why didn't they promote him from within instead of going out and getting John Morton and David Shaw, who's a great pairing? I wish the Jets got both of them, to be honest with you, but if you want to say what's a red flag, they didn't promote him, dude, which is...
Yeah, and especially, again, the fact that you went the defensive side for your head coach, you would think it would have been a priority going with somebody that had more of that experience, possibly a previous head coach to fill the offensive side of the ball. But I guess that's where Scott Turner comes in and some of these other guys that have some experience.
Yeah, and that's where I was like, all right. And then, you react to that, like, all right, I get it. But then if you're going to do that, you better have a lot of experienced guys behind him to help him out. And they weren't doing that initially. And I was starting to be like, oh, man, I'm like, you're really testing my patience with this, where I'm not. And the thing is, like, the games aren't being played till September. So you can't, like, a lot of comments you get in the videos like, bro, I just want to see them win. It's February 3rd. We're not going to know if they're winning or losing. We're offering observations based on resume, what they did in the past. That's all we can do.
You can't be mad at the fan that's negative or has that prove-it mindset. Like, I keep saying it to people in the comments. Like, if you've been that negative prick 14 of the last 14 years, you've been right every single time. So if, like, you've developed that mindset over all these years that you just want to see results before actually hopping on the bandwagon, I totally get that. I'm not going to be that way the entire offseason, but certainly coming on here and giving my initial reaction to all these things, it's not overwhelmingly positive for many of these hires.
No, it's not. I mean, and being consistent, like a lot of things I want to go into this hiring cycle hasn't happened. Yep. I didn't want a first-time head coach, and I didn't want a first-time play caller. We got both of them. So I'm like, all right, now it's like to sit here and bitch and moan about it every day for the next 8 months is stupid. I'm like, what can the Jets do to build around them? And I wasn't encouraged at first, but Scott Turner kind of alleviated some of my problems, some of them, because play caller before, got a lot of experience, wide receiver coach, quarterback coach. Like, all right, now you mix him with Tanner. It's like you feel a lot more comfortable with the play scheme and implementing an offense I did previously, especially if Norv Turner's hanging in the wings somewhere where he's not maybe a consultant, maybe overseeing it. He's a sounding board. That's a huge asset in the feather in the cap. If that's actually the case, we don't know that, but it would help, man.
Yeah, definitely one of the hires I actually like. Football lifer as the son of Norv Turner, interim offensive coordinator with the Raiders last year. So he does have some experience calling plays, can definitely help Engstrand in that regard. So desperately needed, I think, on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and I mean, if they want to hire Norv Turner as a consultant, I wouldn't bother me one bit. For those always asking, Todd Downing's gone. He's going to the Patriots. I'm sure Hackett's out the building already. I mean, those guys are gone.
Well, took his name off the coaching list.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of they're not making official announcements like we fired so-and-so. It's like they moved on. But you're like, all right, so you have – this is so hard, man. You have the offensive coordinator. All right, you understand it. Ties to Aaron Glenn. Get it. The passing game coordinator, I actually like that hire. But then I'm like, the Jets are a team that ideally have to find a young signal caller, their next franchise quarterback, to groom, develop, and hopefully prosper. To do that, you want to have the coordinator. You want to have the quarterback coach. And I was like, they announced it. I looked it up, and I'm like, all I saw was running back coach.
The last 3 years, he's been with the Falcons, the Titans. He's had some experience.
One and done each year. Yeah. Quarterback coach, one and done 3 years in a row. And the Seahawks are getting rid of him after this year. So it's like, all right, not exactly the resume you're looking for your quarterback coach. So you're going to trust Aaron Glenn, but I wasn't inspired by that at all. I was like, want these.
Do you think these moves speak more to Aaron Rodgers potentially coming back or shifting to a younger quarterback?
I think these moves they wanted the guy from the Commanders and they got blocked. That David Block, whatever his name was, they wanted him. I think it speaks more to the Jets not having a quarterback, like a long-term answer quarterback, where a lot of guys don't want to take a chance. You saw what's his face went to the Texans today. I mean, would you rather go to CJ Stroud or deal with the Jets? Either Rodgers or not, it's going to be 1 year of him, and then who's going to be the guy that you want? If you're going to put your coaching name on the line, you want a really good chance to win. And the Jets can't guarantee that because there's a lot of unknowns. You don't even know if Rodgers even wants to play at this point. So
I just have PTSD with a first-time offensive coordinator, first-time head coach. Now, if we're going to go the direction of a rookie quarterback, like we were just there 4 years ago, look how it turned out. So
I'm with you, man. So you're looking at that. So it's like, all right, quarterback coach, not exactly inspired. And to me, I'm just being consistent. One of the most important hires to me is the offensive line coach, because you have Tippmann, you have Olu, who could be very good players that you want to mold and work out all the bad things they learned over the last year. So you don't have a lot of faith in what they learned with Keith Carr and Hackett. They look like they were the techniques, fundamentals, everything was kind of, off base and whatever else. So you want to bring in that hard-nosed, proven guy to get this cleaned up and make this offensive line the strength of your team, your foundation of your team. And then they go out and they get Steve Hyden from the Lions. So you're like, okay, Aaron Glenn knows him, but he's a tight ends coach. He's assistant O-line coach for 1 year, and it doesn't really fit the mold of what I'm like, okay, I'm going to have faith in Aaron Glenn, but you're really testing my positivity because it just, and again, it's never, you can't always assume like a first-time guy is going to suck, but for a team that's trying to find their way, talking about culture and cleaning up all the stench of last year, it didn't give me that warm and fuzzy feeling I was hoping for.
Definitely not. Again, first-time head coach, first-time GM, you got so many new pieces, so many moving parts. At the very minimum, especially on the offensive side of the ball, because you went the head coach with Aaron Glenn, you need somebody, or at least multiple guys, I think, with experience on the offensive side of the ball. And with all the issues that the Jets have had over the past couple of years with the offensive line, to go with somebody that only has 1 year as an offensive line assistant, and he's been a tight end coach for the last 4 or 5 years, it just feels weird to me.
Yeah, it's a stretch. And again, I know it's like you have, Tanner, then you have him, they're all from the Detroit Lions. They've all worked. There's all the continuity, familiarity, great. Still a first-time guy doing it. And you wonder what the players are actually thinking of the Jets, like the Garrett Wilsons, the Breece Halls, the Tippmans. Like, no, I'm not saying this. The Breece Halls and the Garrett Wilsons, who they want to win. they want to see, and they want a lot of things cleaned up. They want to maximize their potential. And you're seeing first-time guys that really can't, like I kept telling you want a guy to look them in the eyes and say, I've been there, done that before. I know how to do it.
Bingo.
And they didn't really do that.
No, absolutely. A major concern. And if you've paid attention to Sauce's Twitter and Instagram, there hasn't been one post, welcoming the new coach, anything about Aaron Glenn. He had the one post about Robert Saleh when he got hired as defensive coordinator back with the Niners. So it just seems like the players might be in that same kind of mindset as a lot of fans, where it's like the words maybe sound right, but I need to actually see what the actions are first.
Yeah. So, and then, it's like the offensive staff is interesting. Like Scott Turner made me feel a lot better about a lot of things, but it's just like, you get these flashbacks of things we've seen in the past where it's just, we're putting an enormous amount of faith in Aaron Glenn's insight and his process and his faith in the guys he's hiring. I mean, he could be hiring an all-star staff for all we know. We have no idea. But based on what our wish list going into this, it didn't really check a lot of boxes.
Definitely not. And that's what bothers me. I mean, like the Parcells comparisons, especially, I mean, I mentioned last week, like the fact that the owner is different, the length of how long the team has been bad, but also Parcells walked in that door with instant credibility. He had won 2 Super Bowls. He took to the Patriots to another one. As soon as he stepped in that door, you knew it was his way or you were out, and his way would ultimately lead to success. And so, for Aaron Glenn, I think he probably has some respect from a lot of the players, just being a former player, and guys that know the Jets history obviously know him. But I think this whole thing's got a long way to go, especially if you're also going down the road of trying to rebuild again. I don't know how many players are going to want to sit through another, 2 to 3 years as they all figure it out.
Well, now that you have the offensive staff for the most part in place, I'm hoping even to Todd Haley, they bring other guys just to come in here and give oversee and clean things up and make sure everybody's on point. But now it comes down to the quarterback. I mean, you could have all the guys in the room you want. If you don't have the quarterback, it's going to be a problem this year and for the years to come. And you look at the staff, and you look at Aaron Rodgers, and you're like, is this a staff that he'd even it's twofold. Would Aaron Rodgers even want to come back and deal with all these guys in the first time in their position? Like, he want to deal with all that, like knowing they're literally learning on the fly while this could be the last year of his career. Does he even want to deal with that? And the other side of it is the Jets having all these new guys. Do you want to deal with that veteran in the last year of his career who wants to go out on a high note and could be he could be a factor in terms of pushing certain things and maybe not the way Aaron Glenn wants it to go.
That should help with all the inexperience you have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you would think, and also how many opportunities are really out there for Aaron Rodgers? We've talked about it over the last few weeks. How many teams out there right now would want to take a chance on him? Possibly. If there are other opportunities out there, I could definitely see him embracing that. Otherwise, I think he would definitely welcome a return. But again, for a new coaching staff, are you putting your faith in him?
This is exactly what I'm with you. You have a very new staff. Do you want to deal with the big personality and the big aura that is Aaron Rodgers, where he could be like, you know what, this play call is what you think it is. I'm audibling out. I don't like this. We got to change that. It's like, do you want to scheme it this year for 1 year of him, or do you want to get your system in place for the years to come? But the problem is your quarterback probably not here though. So
didn't he also have issues with LaFleur his first year when he took over in Green Bay? Right. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, it's going to take, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see how this all works out. You have a whole new staff, a whole new mindset, everything else, but now it comes down to who's going to be your quarterback and how does this all work out? We can all be excited. Listen, we were excited about Saleh. We were excited about Douglas. We justified a lot of things, but if we're being consistent, when Saleh broke out his staff, we're like, man, a lot of new coaches here, a lot of inexperience. So to ignore that this time is just being a fanboy. We literally, if we go back to our videos, all the things we asked for aren't really happening. So it's like, all right.
But that's where I was. That's where I was also that's where I was last week with the head coaching hire, because we all kind of went in with the same mindset of what the Jets ultimately needed to turn this thing around. And I didn't think anybody really had Aaron Glenn on their list. I know he got interviews other places, definitely a qualified candidate, but for what the Jets need right now, it's somebody proven, somebody established. And I just don't know if he necessarily can bring that. I hope he does.
Now, I'm really fascinated to see, because Jet fans now are getting very vocal, like Aaron Rodgers must come back. And my stance is going to be the same thing the entire time, is whatever Aaron Glenn says the way it should be. Not what Woody Johnson says, not what Chris Johnson says. He's implementing his staff, his whole blueprint. If that does not include Aaron Rodgers, fine with me. If it says, you know what, I want to bring him back, fine with me. But I don't want nobody meddling, because you look at these Jet season ticket commercials on TV, Aaron Rodgers is still in them. So I'm like, I don't know if that's is it false advertising maybe? I don't know what it is, but.
That's probably the one thing we agree on, that, yeah, this decision should ultimately come from Aaron Glenn. I know he's spoken with Rodgers already. And ultimately, if you feel like his head's in the right place and he's looking to, take this thing on for another year and he could be that leader that you need in the locker room, then yeah, you try to run it back. I think having a veteran that's got some experience definitely helps your first time coordinator. And my question would be, if it's not going to be Aaron Rodgers, then who's it going to be? What's your next option? It can't be a rookie. You're not starting a rookie in year one. We've been down that path too many times. So who's it going to be? Who's your next option?
Here's a good comment. When you're trying to build a culture, you don't want a guy like Rodgers who wants to do his own thing. Rip the Band-Aid off. It didn't work. Start building for the future. You know what? And that could be Aaron Glenn's approach. But you know what? I want my own guy to start, not just for 1 year. I want the guy's going to be here 3-4 years. Whether that's Justin Fields or whoever else. Like this, it's going to be fascinating, man, because there's not a lot of names out there. When you look at that, what Marcus Mariota and guys like that. I saw the one comment. Okay. It's never good when the guy says, hear me out, but hear me out. Daniel Jones knows the market will be cheap. Will have a chip on his shoulder, spent time with Kevin O'Connell, and he's
Rodgers will have a chip on his shoulder.
If Rodgers is gone, bring Daniel Jones home. I mean, the one thing I will say, if I did have to find my next quarterback, mobility is key. They've got to be able to run around now. That's the future of the NFL. Is all these guys are mobile quarterbacks, can do a lot of things. You can't be a drop back passer standing like a statue. It's not going to work. Daniel Jones is a running quarterback, not on my list. Yeah, but not on my list at all, and he's not coming back to my home.
Sam Darnold's pretty mobile.
Yeah, he's not coming back here either. No. But now, what was your thoughts on Steve Wilks as a hire?
Loved it. Again, another guy that's got some experience, albeit just 1 year as a head coach, where he kind of failed one and done. I think he was only a volunteer last year for Charlotte, if I saw it right. Yep. I mean, at least he's got some level of experience, somebody that Aaron Glenn should be able to lean on.
That's kind of what I'm looking at. Like, I respect the hire.
What's really on your mind, Tyson? It seems
I respect the hire. I respect the hire. It's the least of my concerns. Like, I think that this is where I have faith in Aaron Glenn. If the defense isn't being run the way he wants it, I'm sure he can step in and put his touch on it. Like, no. Do this, figure this out. I like that Wilt splitzes a lot. How they go, they want to go man. Like, Glenn's a man guy. Wilkes is more of a zone guy. They can figure that out. I have faith in Glenn stepping in and saying, no. This is our standard on defense. This is what I want. I'm just so focused on the offense at this point that I'm concerned about a lot of things, and it comes down to the quarterback. So, based on what we have right now, do you think Aaron Rodgers would want to come back and play for this staff?
I think he would.
Think so?
I think so.
I'm not sure, man. Do you want to put?
I don't know how many options he would really have other than the Jets.
Well, say the Jets release him. Like, you know what? I don't think they could trade him. They're gonna probably release him.
Yeah.
You think the Steelers got to be interested, right? They'd be tailor-made for him.
Yeah, but I'm saying if the Jets aren't releasing him, if the choice was just his, I think he would definitely welcome coming back. He's got a house here. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure he's not trying to uproot his life just for 1 year in Pittsburgh or wherever else.
I'm curious how long this drags. Like, when do they make this decision? Does Aaron Glenn already have it in his mind without it? Like, already saying, listen, I watched your tape. I know what you want. I know your contract. We know all this, but, we kind of want to go in a different direction. Now,
I still put a lot more faith in what some of the players, at least the ones that you think are coming back next year, what they have to say about Aaron Rodgers and what he really was in the locker room last year. Like, there's a lot of the media BS that's out there. Like, was that legitimately going on? Like, was Aaron Rodgers just all about his ego and doing things his way? Or was he the guy that we saw in a lot of the, the clips from Netflix where, he's standing up in front of the team, he's giving all these speeches, you could see his heart's in it. Like, which guy is the real Aaron Rodgers? And I think that's only going to come from a lot of the exit interviews and just talking with the players who were actually there.
Yeah, especially if Garrett Wilson asks for a trade and you're like, all right, there's clearly things going wrong there. That's not what we hope for. Then you figure if Aaron's coming back, what do you do with Devontae Adams? You got to restructure his contract. Can't keep him under that certain. There's a lot of things. I'm hoping it gets identified because now Pat McAfee started talking today and he's like, I haven't talked to Rodgers, but I get the feeling, which, all right, so you're telling us what you already know, but you're not saying you talked to him, where he gets the feeling Aaron may want to play again. He's not hanging his cleats up. So I'm wondering how the Jets handle it, so how they get in front of it. Do they, if they don't want him back, why? Let's not drag it out for 3 weeks. At the Super Bowl next week, like, listen, we're deciding to move on, and this is what we're gonna do, right? Like,
you would think there would be a decision pretty soon, hopefully,
right? And I think I'm guessing that Aaron Rodgers is gonna probably be like, leave his little hint out there too, like, I want to play football again. I don't think he has the luxury to wait another month. He can't say, talk to me, and late February.
Free agency starting? No, you can't do that.
I think you can't play that game this year because the Jets can be like, we can't wait for you. We need to know because we got to move on ourselves. Matthew Stafford's interesting, dude. If he gets traded or released, I can see Rodgers going there 100%. But if he gets traded or released, I'd be interested in him 2 years.
You just said you wanted a mobile quarterback.
Bro, I like Stafford a lot, dude. I love the way he
Obviously,
plays the
I
game.
like him.
I do. I would take him in a heartbeat for 2 years and just take a risk. He's only what, 36, 37? How's Matthew Stafford? I don't think he's that old.
He's getting up there. He's getting up there.
He's not 42. He's still got a lot of football left in him. Especially where the Jets are at now.
Kirk Cousins,
I see
Winston,
like people are asking for
Winston in the chat.
Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. Who was the other guy that was interested? Oh, Derek Carr can be released.
We're gonna go back to those fucking arguments.
Bring back my Derek Carr. I gotta recycle all my videos. So we'll see what happens, man. So right now, in your gut, you think that Rodgers wants to come back to the Jets?
I think so.
I think he may want to still play, but I think the Jets are gonna want to move on. I think they're gonna be like, we've got to just go in a different direction here. So I'm fascinated, dude. I just don't know. I think the reactions to it are gonna be wild because every day on social media is like, you got to bring Rodgers back. You got to bring Rodgers back, and it's like I'd almost be. The fans are with situations like that. We're usually wrong. So if Aaron Glenn comes out and says, you know what, we're not bringing it back, he may be right. Like he may be doing the right thing for once.
I just hope that the decision is made for the right reasons, that it's not because Aaron Glenn and Engstrand that they're, intimidated by a veteran quarterback that likes to maybe change some things around, that they just feel like, all right, he's over the hill. He's not a right fit for the locker room. Like whatever decision they make, if they want to move on, it's done for the right reason. It's not because they're scared of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I'm less worried about that. More worried about Chris Johnson, Woody Johnson saying we can't sell tickets. We got to bring him back primarily for that. Because think about it. If you get rid of Aaron Rodgers this year, why would you, other than being a diehard fan and love your team or anything else, why would you buy tickets to go see this team when you don't?
No, you wouldn't. You
know you're going to see an average product at overpriced tickets. Like they're very expensive to go there. Are you going to spend $200 a ticket to watch what?
And that brings me back to my big argument from last week, which is, the possibility that you still have ownership in the front office that possibly hired these first-time guys because they knew they could still pull the strings and do things their own way.
It's a good test, man. It's a good test for Aaron Glenn. It really is. I think he's got a lot of power. It definitely seems like it. I'm hoping every day they announce a director of football operations or somebody else senior in that staff to, help out this new general manager. Like you just saw who the Jacksonville Jaguars hired, Tony Baselli. Like even like that. You want to hire Curtis Martin? Cool. Anybody to be a buff between Moogie and friggin' Woody Johnson. Like anybody. Just let's have a legitimate football hierarchy with football guys involved. So still things can still happen. You never know, but it's
they hired the head coach before the GM, so it's only right that they ended by hiring the
You could tell he's got a lot of power. He's got a lot. But you know what? If you want to go down in flames, I'd rather have him go down in flames this way than having I wanted this, but I didn't get that. I wanted this, I didn't get that. Nope. This is it. You want to shop for the groceries, you're going to be shopping for it, apparently. So no excuses. This is your staff, your guys. The only guy they brought back was Sean Jefferson so far, right? The wide receiver coach.
The only one. They blocked him from other interviews with other teams.
I think they said Garrett Wilson loves him. The young guys love him. So.
He's got the connection to Parcells too, which probably helps.
Yep. But they also led the league in drops. Or they're among the league leader in drops too. So we want to discuss
You can't have everything, Tyson. You can't have everything.
So we'll see. Let you guys know what you think about just the staff and then what happens with Rodgers, because that's the next question now. The staff, for the most part, is done. Now it's like, what do you do with the quarterback? If it's not him, then who? And the list of who's are not pretty.
No.
So
and that's why I still feel it's worth it to bring him back for another year. But again, that's got to be Aaron Glenn's decision, and I think it's got to come from the right place.
Yep, I agree. I definitely agree. So let's see. We'll start out with our good friend Bubs.
Hey, what's going on? How's it going?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. Just waiting. Super Bowl wrap up, and then hopefully we start to get some answers on Rodgers and other stuff. But
what do you think about this staff, man? What do you think about this staff on offense?
Yeah, defensively I like it. Offensively, I don't love it. I'd still like to see a Todd Haley or an Anthony Lynn be brought in as kind of a veteran assistant. Really, I like Anthony Lynn a little bit more just because Haley's been out of the league since I think 2018 was the last time with the Browns, so a little bit outdated. Lynn, though, I would totally bring in. Been a head coach, right, 4 years with the Chargers, so I'm still on board with that. Other than that, though, it's all kind of unknowns. I like Scott Turner. Right? He's called plays now, with Washington was the OC, was the internal OC last year with the Raiders, so has experience calling plays with Engstrand doesn't. So ideally can kind of help mentor him there a little bit. Charles London, too, not a ton of experience. That one really was kind of questionable for me. I mean, he's got a running backs background, comes in for 4 seasons, and
QB
where-
coach for 3 teams.
Yeah. And it's like now at some point you're going to be developing a rookie, whether that's this season, next season, whether they draft somebody this year or draft somebody next year, first round. At some point you're going to be developing a rookie, and we've kind of seen this mistake before with inexperience at quarterback coach position, and that felt like, you know, with the whole Zach Wilson situation, of course. So I don't love that. Just would have liked to see a guy. It doesn't have to be a former head coach, doesn't have to be a former offense coordinator. Just would have liked to see a guy that had more than 4 years of being a quarterbacks coach under his belt, where his whole background is quarterbacks, and maybe a significant moment in his career where he helped develop a quarterback. Like, he doesn't have any of that. So I don't love that. Jefferson, yeah, it feels like that's something that Garrett that feels like it might be something to try and get Garrett back, or
yeah, but you're looking at, you talk about the quarterback coach. To me, it's like for this team, it was offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, offensive line coach. Those were the 3 most important hires we all said over and over and over the entire offseason.
Yeah.
So as it happened, like, all right, defensive minded coach, no problem. First time head coach, okay, fine. Let's have a very strong offensive staff. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Like Scott Turner helps me a lot. It makes me digest things a lot
Scott
easier.
Turner, I like that hire.
But the quarterback coach and the O-line coach just makes me like, come on, man. Like, you're making it very hard to buy into this. Now, listen, Steve Hyden could be a genius for all I know.
Yeah.
No idea.
And he's a guy that, right, he was with Hank Fraley in Detroit. Their offense line's been one of the top in the league for the last couple of years. So you're banking on hopefully he learns something there, can take that here. But you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of young talent on his offense line. Your 4-year 5 starters from last year, 27 or under. Simpson's in his prime. AVT kind of really entering his prime. Tittman only entering, year 3 now. And then you've got Olu, who played half a season last year and looked really good. So he's got a lot of work to do from a development perspective. This is the first time in a long time that this offensive line really looks like it's got a lot of young talent and promising talent. So, I mean, I'll just say this. He can't be any worse than Keith Carter, right? So,
that's true. I think what we wanted a strong hire for, because you want to overcome what they learned.
Yeah,
like you want to get rid of all those bad habits, clean up a lot of technique, make sure you have a sound, solid scheme to actually maximize their potential. So that's where you're like, oh, like you just want it better. But then the one argument I was having with the one guy is like, we may want better. Those guys may not have wanted to come here. Where I was telling prime time before, it's like, you know what? You want, like, he didn't want to come here, or they got blocked. But it's like, you want to have that young quarterback already here. You're proven quarterback. Like, listen, we can implement our offense and roll with it. Where this could be a rebuild at some point, where it's either this year, next year, where you're going to have growing pains of a young quarterback at some point. Yeah, maybe some guys that want to take that chance with Aaron Glenn. Yeah,
it's true, and I think the whole Rodgers thing too, I'm sure has a lot of impact, like you guys were mentioning earlier. It's a kind of just a little bit of a cloud hanging over your head. Yep. Caley gets to work with CJ Stroud. You've got a starter there for the next, really potentially stays his whole career there, of course, franchise piece. And David Blow is working with Daniels now, and he, obviously big piece there. So it's like, number one, why would he want to leave there? Number two, Commanders blocking him would make sense for them to keep him around. Obviously, Cliff Kingsbury, both those guys got a lot out of him this year. So, I just wish the experience they have on defense, because even the defensive line coach I like a lot, Eric Washington, he's been a defensive coordinator before, been a defensive line coach forever. I really like him. Feels like and I like that hire a lot. I like Wilkes as well. I still feel like Glenn needs, right? We talk about all the time. McVay had Wade Phillips. I feel Glenn needs that Wade Phillips on offense. He needs that veteran guy that he can rely on. Because yes, he's got it on defense, but Glenn's a defensive minded coach. You need somebody like that on offense, as opposed to, we saw with Saleh, right? LaFleur learning on the job. And, it's just, I'm still waiting for that. I think we can also probably say too, football operations would be, I think everybody would be on board with that. I doubt they do it, but we'll say, I guess. But
that's interesting, man. It's an interesting time. Like, like it's testing your patience, testing your optimism, because like you see things that you're not sure of, but we won't know till training camp to see what they're doing and preseason, and then once the season starts. But again, I'm with you, man. I'd add somebody, another season. Like, I like Anthony Lynn a lot, the guy you mentioned. Like, I saw, like, Frank Reich was mentioned. Wouldn't mind that at all. Like, get experience in the building. You can't have enough at this point. Yeah. So,
and I doubt it would happen. I think he'd probably take an OC job, but even let's just say Doug Peterson would want to come in a role, I'd do it. Although I think he'd probably, like, if they really wanted him, he probably would take the OC, but maybe
he's not coming here.
Yeah, I mean, this is Aaron Glenn's literally handpicking his guys. These are guys he wanted, except for the ones that got blocked. So So now, what's your instinct with Rodgers? Do you think he wants to play for this staff? Like, would you feel comfortable having him deal with a lot of these first time guys?
I mean, my gut tells me probably not. I think just the way they run things too, not only just with the first time and inexperience, but you look at some of the things that the Lions do under Ben Johnson, Engstrand, that whole system. A lot of it's kind of the opposite of what Rodgers does. Like, they run a lot of play action. Rodgers doesn't run a lot of play action. They ran a ton of the Jets ran a ton of plays the Lions ran a ton of plays under center last year. The Jets ran like a league low. So it's like everything the Lions do, Rodgers doesn't. Rodgers obviously been famously known for really not running a ton of play action, kind of want to do things his way. So just from like the schematic standpoint, there's not a whole lot that they do that he would agree on. And that's where you get into that difficult situation of in games, if he audibles out of things and wants to do his things just his way, and that stunts, the development of guys like Engstrand, and that kind of creates that weird situation between the two. So I just still think
that could also be an asset, like, not to cut you off, like that could also be an asset for a first-time offensive coordinator, having somebody that's been there for 20 years, that has all this experience, that can see things from a different perspective. Yeah.
And that's the whole debate too with Rodgers coming back was like, he's going to have to learn a new system. So, I mean, you kind of have to, again, we talked about it, last week, I think it was, we can't baby him anymore. And I like that out of Glenn, that he's just one of the 53. So if he does want to come back, it's like, hey, look, you're going to have to learn this new system. You're going to have to run more play action. We're not just going to cater to, and I think some of the under center stuff last year was supposedly because of the Achilles stuff, but still, I think if you look back at Green Bay, he still was not a ton of under center. But that's what he's gonna have to do. He's not gonna be his show anymore. So,
and that's a good test. That's a good test for Aaron Glenn and his philosophies and how he's going to handle it with discipline and accountability. Like, that's one of the big stars in the NFL still at a latter part of his career. If you hold him accountable, like, listen, you got to stop doing this. You can't do that. And he calls guys out in the media, like, all right, then this is, and how does Rodgers even handle that if he wants to? Like, it's.
I think Aaron Glenn's going to be tested long before Aaron Rodgers with this Garrett Wilson situation, which I think is going to heat up pretty soon. I don't think he's happy right now. I don't think Sauce is happy right now either.
You make a good point about the Garrett Wilson situation. I was going to ask you guys this. Like, you're starting to see some of the news trickle out, right? Myles Garrett requesting a trade. Now you got the Cooper Kupp stuff today. It feels like within the next week or two, you might get the Rodgers decision. It feels like if there's going to be a trade request, you're going to hear it from a reporter, or Garrett's going to do something himself like Garrett did. Like, there's going to be something, I feel like, soon here, especially when you're starting to see things heat up with Kupp and Garrett both today.
100% agree.
If that does happen and you're Aaron Glenn, how do you handle it? Do you play hardball knowing that you still have control for the next 4 years essentially over Garrett Wilson? Or do you just say, you know what, I want my guys here, and whatever we can get for you, we're going to get?
I mean, ideally you try and make it work, I think. I mean, he's a cornerstone piece. And if you're going to bring in a future quarterback, if you're going to bring in a rookie, you want to have a guy that's there for like a number one already. Because let's say you move on from Rodgers, you trade Garrett, Devontae's not coming back if no Rodgers. Rolling Malachi Corley out there, like, I mean, you could go after McMillan in the draft, but you're kind of, I mean, we're already thin at receiver.
Yeah.
So it's.
But is that going to be a distraction that you would want in your first year as a head coach?
But the other thing, but this distraction right now is, say if Garrett Wilson's being selfish for once, saying, listen, you know what, I sacrificed my last 3 years with questionable quarterback play and offensive schemes that are a mess, and now you want me to deal with another year of this when I'm literally going to be in a contract year when I know my quarterback's going to be. Like, I want to win games. He's probably tired of losing. He's probably tired of dysfunction and tired of bad quarterback play. He may not want to bank on the Jets anymore, but, like, you know what, I literally just want to get out of here and start my career over to get Pro Bowl numbers and get Pro Bowl money. That's probably what he's shooting for right now.
Yeah, you can totally understand it, especially even let's say they bring back Rodgers for this year, and let's say the relationship maybe isn't as bad as people make it out to be, then still 2026, you're going to have questions at quarterback. That quarterback you draft, maybe he's the answer. Historically, history tells us he's probably not going to be the answer, but still, like, you're going to have unknowns then. So now it's going to be unknown this year, unknown next year. Yep. And then depending on what would happen after that, I mean, you'd be going way down the road. But if he's committing here for the next 4 to 5 seasons, you're talking about this year, then a rookie, hoping he pans out. It's a lot of unknowns.
But that's the whole thing is, like, you got to, like, we talked about this 2 months ago. It's Aaron Glenn's got to look each player in the eye and sell him a vision. On offense, how do you sell a vision if you don't know who your quarterback is? If your quarterback is an unknown, a rookie, good luck selling that, because these guys have already been through that. They went through the Zach Wilson experience already. They don't want to go through that again. So it's going to be very, very challenging, man. I'm fascinated to see how this works out. And if Garrett wanted out, I wouldn't blame him, to be honest with you. I genuinely wouldn't, especially with the nonsense with Devontae Adams last year and how they handled that, and just it wouldn't really surprise me at all.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. Would you think, like, let's say they move on from Rodgers, you think they go after like Fields just because they were?
Why not?
I wouldn't mind that.
But like, even with Garrett too, college teammates, obviously, like that is anything. Maybe just a thought.
But it's like it's like a shot in the dark, man. I hope now he pans out. He's maturing,
Yeah, I mean,
he's getting better, and he,
it'd be a kind of a reclamation project. You bring him in, and I mean, he'd play right away, but you easily could be out after next season.
Or he could be your long-term answer.
Yeah, he could be your long-term.
Either way.
And who knows? I mean, maybe Engstrand and Fields, I mean, maybe it'd be better off for a younger guy to work with a guy like Fields as opposed to Rodgers. It's interesting. Just the quarterback is really going to be interesting.
There's so many teams that are just so far ahead of us right now.
Watching the playoffs doesn't help because this team has talent, but it's just you watch these quarterbacks and you watch like Allen and Mahomes duel, and it's like I think they can compete next year with Rodgers. I mean, they won't ever win a Super Bowl with Rodgers. That's out the window. I think that went out the window 4 snaps in, but
what the goal is a championship.
Yeah, the goal is a championship.
You look at the AFC is loaded with great quarterbacks. Yeah. Loaded. CJ Stroud on the rise, Drake May in your own division on the rise. Like Justin Herbert, like there's all these guys at the quarterback. If you don't have a high level guy, you're not going to do anything with it. You're not going to be able to do anything.
Great quarterbacks and great head coaches.
Yep. But it starts with the quarterback, man. You have that, like D'Amico Ryans looks a lot better now with CJ Stroud sitting next to him. You know what I mean? Like D'Amico Ryans is a great coach now. Oh,
yeah, but you still got 2 Harbaughs. You got Tomlin. You got Pete Carroll now to deal with.
Vrabel's getting a nice staff together with the Patriots. He's on
division. Yeah, it's quarterback driven league. They gotta figure it out. I mean, the one example I could think of is like it's a little bit different, but I don't know if Sirianni's like that great of a coach. Not that Hurts is elite. That's a lot of Saquon, but that might be the one example of quarterback bad, not bad coach, but I don't know if Sirianni is succeeding elsewhere if he doesn't have Howie Roseman in that roster that he's built.
I mean, he's a CEO type head coach. Yeah, he oversees a lot, and he's a motivator. He lets them be themselves. He has that brash attitude. They're aggressive, crazy at times, and the players love it. They're winning
2 Super Bowls. Can't complain there.
Yeah,
I mean, and the roster is loaded, but I mean, he's still got to manage all of them, and they're still finding ways. And they're dominant. Yeah,
and he did. I mean, he made a mistake with kind of the way his staff went after Steichen and Gannon went for coaching jobs, but he fixed the staff this year. Obviously, bringing in Fangio was big. So that's. I mean, he's in the Super Bowl, so he's doing something right.
It's like second time. Shit.
Yeah.
So what's your Super Bowl prediction, man?
I think the Chiefs win.
Come on.
I think it's Mahomes. They just find you have to be so it's crazy. You have to be so perfect to beat them. It's just from now on, the regular season means absolutely nothing. They disguise everything in the regular season. In the playoffs, they just put it all out there.
You don't want to see Mekhi Becton get his first ring? And
Becton,
Bryce
Huff, Braden Mann,
Jets legend.
There's so many former Jets. I think there's some others too. I'm probably forgetting. There's so many. Just like McCole Harmon last year catching the Super Bowl, Becton will make like a huge block. MVP. Yeah.
Thanks for calling, man. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Good talking to you, Bubs.
All right. As far as quarterback, I think Travis, depending on his recovery, is a viable option. I think he is or was better than a lot of these 2025 quarterbacks. Dude, he's not even healthy yet.
That's the problem.
Like he had a setback last year, according to reports. He didn't practice last year.
It's so hard to say a guy is going to be our option when he essentially hasn't played in 2 years, coming off a major injury. And I would have been right there with you before he got hurt, but I still think he's got a long way to go, especially now learning a brand new offense again, year 2, learning a new. I mean, there are so many things that are up in the air with him.
And that's the guy we all rooted for. Like, oh, good feel-good story, but setback. We knew it was going to be a redshirt year last year, but I thought at some point he'd be practicing on the field. Just wasn't going to play. He couldn't get back on the field. It's like, oh, that's exactly. Multiple setbacks. That's not a good sign. No. So if he can get back and just get on the field and start working and maybe be an option a year from now, but I'm not counting on him at all for anything this year, to be honest with you. No. So we'll see. Now this is a second week of the road, this guy. And it's funny, it's like when the minute they hired Steve Hyden as the offensive line coach, I'm like, I know exactly who we can talk to about that. When a tight end coach is doing the O-line, no better guy than this right here.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
How are you doing, man?
But all
I'm
here.
doing good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Give us your breakdown of the coaching staff.
Okay, so I'll start with the positives. Is the defensive staff. I know when the rumors first started coming out about the staff that he wanted.
Right.
He said experienced defensive coordinator was the reports with, offensive. It seemed like a young offensive coordinator we're targeting, but hopefully get like an experienced person in there to help them out. And I like that idea. I like that idea. In that I felt like I think I put a comment in the chat earlier, and I said we were talking about the inexperience on the offensive side, and comparing it to Saleh, where if you looked at Saleh's stats,
I had a wave.
if you look at Saleh's stats,
you guessed.
We
our special guest. Well past 3 dates, prime time.
Is that Legend? What's he doing over there?
He's drunk on the floor.
The Saleh staff, we had inexperience on both sides of the ball, right? Ulbrich.
They had Ulbrich though. Ulbrich wasn't inexperienced.
No, Ulbrich was a linebackers coach. He only went to DC for temporarily when Raheem Morris became interim head coach in Atlanta. So he had a few games.
Greg Napoli passed away though, unfortunately.
Ulbrich only had a few games as a DC.
Okay.
And so I don't remember if Raheem Morris even passed over defensive play calling to him. So I will say that. So we had an inexperienced defensive staff. Like Ulbrich is obviously a player, he's a former player and all this stuff, but like he hadn't done the role full time yet. And we saw that we struggled on both sides of the ball. And Saleh naturally just completely ignored the offensive side of the ball and just ran to the defense and was like, I can fix this because I know this side. Yep. And we saw for the first 3 years of his head coaching tenure, he basically paid no attention to the offense until you get to this offseason and he's like, oh, I'm going to the meeting rooms and I'm sitting there asking questions and I have my notepad and I'm asking Rodgers all these nice questions about the offense. So hopefully, with the defensive additions we've made, with Wilkes, I think Wilkes, in my opinion, got scapegoated a lot for the San Francisco stuff. I mean, your team doesn't make it to Super Bowl with a shit defense, if you're being honest. Yep. And you can fire him and it's fine, but their team took a big step back this year, and I don't know, but and now you're back to Saleh after firing another DC. So I feel like he kind of got scapegoated a bit. I think he has the experience. He has, he's been in the job multiple places and some long stops, some successful stops. In Carolina, they went to a Super Bowl, they lost, but you'd rather go to 2 Super Bowls and lose than have some of the clowns we've had. True. And then you have also on the defensive side where you have Chris Harris is a nice he's a decent player. Banjo was a good special teams player, on special teams coordinator. And you're looking at some of the people we're adding, and you like the fact that they're.
Let's get to the offense, man. Let's get you're going to the easy stuff here. That's like I can say Banjo's good too. We can talk about defense, but I want to start. You're going to the easy stuff first. Try to work yourself up and get your confidence up for these takes that come out right now.
Confidence for takes, me? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I let him fly. On the offensive side, it's I would say underwhelming is the word, really, because and part of it's the fact that I don't know these people, and there's a lot of people where and it's for example entering this cycle, I didn't know who Nick Caley was. I'm not gonna lie. Right. But you start hearing all the stuff about Nick Caley for a few weeks, and then you start reading all these little articles, and people are writing these write-ups and telling you all of his history, and then you start to get excited, and you're like, oh well, he has this connection and that connection, he's worked here and here, and you're thinking this is the guy, and then when you don't get him, you're like, okay, Tanner Angstrand, who is this guy? He got passed up for promotion, and so when you're looking at all these things, it's easy to. I feel like it's easy for me to get. For you to get swayed one way or the other and tell yourself this is a home run hire when honestly we have no idea about these guys. We thought LaFleur was a home run hire. He wasn't. On the tight end coach thing, I actually saw something interesting. I don't remember who it was that tweeted it, but there was some football person I follow. He tweeted out and he asked, like, does anyone know how many like tight end coaches actually like transition over to offensive line coach? and there was actually like someone came up with like a list, and there was actually like a pretty decent list of like successful guys who've done it. There might be a decent list of unsuccessful guys who's done it, but apparently because there's a lot of things with tight end plays, blocking and blah blah blah. Yeah. And this guy, when he was a player, he was a blocking tight end. He didn't use his hands anyway, so he might as well just teach blocking. There's a decent amount of crossover between those two positions apparently. So I guess when I saw that, I kind of just decided to wait and see.
So are you just going to give like Aaron Glenn the benefit of the doubt because he worked with them, so he's like you had to see him in practice, see how he coaches players, and right there's got to be something that we got to sell ourselves on with this, because to me it's just like it's a pivotal hire and it's not really the experience you're really looking for when you have Olu and Tippmann and like you want to mold this unit to be great, and now the guy is learning on the fly with a group that was probably grossly undercoached last year or poorly coached.
I'm not saying I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm saying I'm waiting and seeing. I've not said that's a great hire. I have no clue anything about him. I'll say, well, one thing is the tight ends in Detroit could block, all of them.
They're nasty.
Back up, start Brock Wright. You had Laporta, and anyone they put out there, they were blocking. And they weren't looking like our tight ends blocking, because we had 3-4 tight ends deep. We had certain tight ends we brought out, and when you brought them out, it was a run package, and they blew their blocks every single time.
The record special.
I don't know how we managed to have that. Where it's like, hey, if he's on the line, it's a run. He goes in motion, and then you clearly tell what's gonna happen, and he still whiffs a block every time.
We'd be 5 drinks deep calling that shit out.
It's true. Like Rutgers in motion. They're gonna run to the left.
I don't expect, assuming, incompetent offenses, you would think the tight end coach works in cahoots with the offensive line coach. You'd hope that if Glenn's bringing him over here for this job, that it's something he's been working towards. He did have an offensive line assistant kind of role in the past. So you'd think he's trying to like learn from the other guy and bounce off. So this is his chance. You'd much more like if we could bring in a guy and this guy has a history of success on the offensive line. But are those guys out there? I'm not sure.
That's the whole thing. But the thing is, like, to me, I just keep focusing on we have to get a young quarterback. We need a young quarterback, and we don't want to fuck it up once again the way we've done with every other one. And how do you do that? You have a great coaching staff around him. It's paramount. And when you hire a defensive-minded coach, all these other hires that we're kind of risking trying to take a chance on makes you uncomfortable, makes you nervous, right? It's just like,
is this the year to bring in a young rookie quarterback, though, when you already have your offensive coordinator in his first year trying to figure so much different shit out? Like, is this the year to really do it?
The answer to that is always no until you find the guy that works. Literally, that's the way it is. I feel like,
if it's like a 3rd or 4th round pick, I wouldn't care.
Yeah, the 3rd and 4th round pick is what I'm looking at. I like some of these guys. When I start seeing people say, we're moving Jackson Dart up into the 1st round, and he's getting things. And Quinn Ewers top of the 2nd. No, I'm 1st and 2nd round. I'm gonna just draft someone and just let the board come to you, because I see this draft as was like the Pickett draft, right? Where people looked at, was it Pickett? You had Willis, you had Corral, you had all those guys, and they start to talk themselves into it in draft season. And what happened came to draft. One person won the 1st round. And then the team's basically was like, I'm not drafting any of these guys to like the 3rd, 4th round. And it just went like so many picks before another person went. And
you saw that recently with the Senior Bowl. Oh, these guys all suck. They all suck. They make one throw. Oh, that's the guy. Got to get in like one throw. I'm like, no, dude, we've already learned this lesson.
That was Zach Wilson going across his body.
Oh, Jackson Dart is very Zach Wilson-like.
I
had to say it. And not just the fact that, they're both from Utah. They went to the same school. He apparently looks up to him. But they kind of play similar. I'm not going to lie.
There's nobody that you feel like you look at like, hey, we have to get him. It's like there's a tremendous amount of risk where it's like, nope, first 2 rounds, I'm not interested at all. Yeah. I'm just not.
I haven't done much homework on Dart, but you saying that, I'm already out now. Nope,
I actually was fairly impressed. I see someone talking about McCord in the chat. I was fairly impressed by McCord this season. When he was at Ohio State, and I didn't think he was that great. He played with a bunch of great receivers. And my brother, he went to Syracuse, so I ended up watching a decent amount of Syracuse football, just like we talk. And so he ends up wasting his time watching Rutgers, and I watch Syracuse football too. And McCord actually kind of impressed me. I didn't think he was going to be as good as he played in Syracuse. He played pretty well. He made a lot of good throws. They were a top 25 team. They should have beat. Oh no, were they the ones who actually beat Cam Ward? No, I actually don't remember. They might have choked that game, but I like. I mean, there's no point even talking about Shador. He's not coming to us. He's gonna be gone before we pick. But I like McCord.
What are you gonna do with Aaron Rodgers?
Well, for starters, you know, I'm gonna leave it up to the coaching staffs. But I feel like, for me, in my opinion, I actually want to, you know, bounce off and use some of the things that I've seen some of my fellow Jets fans saying when they're talking about the coaching staff and the hiring of Aaron Glenn, where they said, you know,
okay, so Javed, you're the coach of the Jets. What are you doing?
Let me go out, Tyson. I get into my point. I got you. You know, I've heard a lot of, you know, I've seen this story before, right? And I've seen what's happened. And how can you expect me to just have confidence in this and buy into this when I've seen it happen? And right now with Aaron Rodgers, the way I kind of feel is for the past, well, I mean, 1 year he tears ACL. I mean, he's Achilles, but I've seen this before, right? The story of Aaron Rodgers' last 3 years has been Green Bay, where we as fans, because we wanted him and we got him and we were happy, we excused it. We said, why did he play not that great in Green Bay? You know, he was missing some throws to his guys. Oh, his hand was hurt. He was dealing with injuries. You know, when he's healthy, he'll be fine. It'll all work out. Then he comes here, he tears his Achilles. I mean, just distraught, honestly. I was at the game just distraught. And then last year, you know, the start of the year, if we're being honest, it wasn't great. It wasn't fun. It wasn't good to watch for most of the time, right? Nope. Even with some of the the games we won, it wasn't great to watch the whole time.
The Patriot game was.
Yeah, that was
highlight of the year.
Yeah. He you know, he's missing throws. He's not doing great. He gets hit. First of all, the Broncos game, Vikings game, we watched this man get sacked and look like he was screaming in agony. He could barely walk into the tent. We turned the ball over, and here he comes limping out with his helmet, like I'm ready to play. And you know what? To his credit, you know, he didn't miss a game, but he played hurt for most of the year. And everyone's saying, you know, look at the end of the season, he got healthy. How can you trust after now 3 years? He's not been healthy.
So now that you gave us this long
at the end of the year,
the long-winded answer, what are you doing as the head coach of the Jets?
I'm letting him go. I feel like Aaron Rodgers. There's three reasons why. Is because one, even he was healthy at the beginning of the season. His quarterback play wasn't great to start. It wasn't. And when Glenn said I'm gonna be when Glenn and oh my god, what? When Glenn and Moogie, I'm sorry, that press conference, they asked him no questions at his name. I forgot it for a second. When Glenn and Moogie were at the press conference, what they said was they're going to watch every single game starting at the beginning of the season and look through every single play. And to me, that spoke something to me, because if you're being told, you're being sold the Rodgers dream from people who think he's still it, they'll tell you about the Jaguars game, they'll tell you about the Dolphins game, until at the end of the season. All the games at the beginning of the season is no mention. Yep. You know, where all those times where you know we had chances to win, and the times where it did fall on him, we don't talk about that, because we're looking at the end of the season. And we've done this before with Zach Wilson, his rookie year and year 2 was it, where you win some games down the stretch, and the Buccaneers game where, you know, Zach Wilson played good football that Buccaneers game, and we thought
the Jets had how many touchdowns though with Zach Wilson at quarterback?
But PT, the point
that does matter though. You look at all the things that fucking happened last year with firing the head coach at week 5, the kicker blowing 3 games, the defense blowing leads in the 4th quarter. I think it's crazy to put it all on Rodgers.
You say the kicker's blowing 3 games. I could also say that in one of the games he blew, you could also point to Rodgers as blowing that game. First, the Broncos game, you get the ball at the 40-yard line. You have like 2 minutes left, and the best you get is a 50-yard field goal attempt.
It's fair.
And a lot of drop passes. But I mean, so the thing with Rodgers is he can say, well, he fought through all these injuries, the hamstring, the knee, whatever else, the ankle. But it's like, all right, you're another year older, and you're going to get banged up again. So what's the
Father Time is undefeated. I don't want to watch you fight through injuries again. And
so you bring back Rodgers and you sign Justin Fields to back him up.
No, I have Tyrod Taylor. I'll get Justin Fields. I mean that you know, okay. So this, right? Tyrod Taylor, he probably doesn't stay healthy. You know, he's had some bad luck with injuries. What the Chargers guys stabbing him in the lungs. Which, you know, the decisions from them. Justin Herbert turned out pretty well. So, but Tyrod is a solid player if he can stay healthy. He's younger than Rodgers. He can move. You know, he gives us those things. I would bring in Fields. I like Fields' upside. I think there's something there. You know, we looked at Sam Darnold and thought this guy's done. You know, he went to Carolina. He played like dog shit. Baker Mayfield went to Carolina. He played like dog shit. They both.
It's true.
I
It's
answered
the
the
most
question, though.
long-winded answers, man. It's like
We're talking about options.
it's like a novel.
We're talking about okay.
And part
Basically,
three.
I want Rodgers gone. The money, even with the restructure, it's not good to have all the extra dead cap going into next year and all this other stuff. But that's a smaller thing. I think one, Rodgers isn't invested as much. Rodgers isn't invested as much as we think he is, because Rodgers is. Whoa, listen to this. You say that all this right buying if shit goes wrong. Who is one of the first people who can easily just I'm all out, because what, it's over.
He's done. He's checked out.
It's over. And to me, the things I
Not
saw,
that kind of guy.
he's the kind of guy who
I
instead
said
of
it.
reading,
I said it.
he's the kind of guy who instead of reading the defenses properly and throwing to the one route, which we knew he went to on every single short down on 3rd and 4, 4th and 4, every time he's hitting that slant in the slot, he's throwing the fade now. He's that guy, because Davante Adams is outside in the fade. I guarantee you, if Wilson was on the fade and Adams was in the slot, he'd be throwing the slant.
Yep.
He's that guy. He showed you who he was.
We're acting like it was a bad thing that he was throwing
was
to
a
a
bad
number one
thing.
wide receiver that he's so familiar with.
To the point that Garrett Wilson wants out
wide
now.
receiver. Garrett Wilson's supposed to be the number one wide receiver. Congratulations. We're gonna be
And Garrett Wilson still had how many targets last year? He was what, top 5 in the NFL?
Garrett Wilson's targets dropped by like 3 or 4 by when Davante Adams joined the team. Garrett Wilson's
All right,
targets.
so is it all about Garrett
Oh,
Wilson?
let me.
or is it
Oh,
about
no,
having
no.
another number one
If you
wide
want
receiver
to,
with him
we
so
can
he
talk
actually
about
win
Garrett
some
Wilson's
fucking
targets.
games?
Garrett Wilson's red zone targets dropped off significantly when Davante Adams joined the team. He clearly is not getting the ball in spaces where he should be. That you think Garrett Wilson should be getting targets in the red zone? No, that we're talking about the getting the Rams off. I mean the Lions offense, and we're saying Garrett Wilson should be in the Amon-Ra St. Brown role. Well, if they put him in that role, and then Rodgers saying, "Oh, actually, I like Davante Adams. I'm throwing to the Tim Patrick role." What do we do there then?
Got to spread the ball around.
Garrett Wilson in the last few games, and it's a true fact. If you look at and they showed you the stats, and you guys are telling me still about these targets and stuff. In the first few drives, Garrett Wilson got like 3-4 targets. For the next 2 quarters, he was averaging less than a target. That means
a better offense,
where they tell you to throw to your. No, because Aaron Rodgers is too good of a quarterback to tell me, they're in cover 2.
Jameson
I can't
Williams
throw
gets
it
his
to him.
targets. Sam Laporta gets his targets. Jameer Gibbs gets his targets.
If you watch the Lions play, you could not go 3 games and see Amon-Ra St. Brown not get a target for multiple 2nd and 3rd quarters.
Jared Goff's just better than Rodgers right now too. So it's
you can't tell me someone at his level can go to the media and say, "Oh, wait, why isn't Garrett getting targets?" And you say, "Oh, they're playing cover 2." And you see the way Garrett was angry. Garrett's angry because he knows the damn game plan. He knows the play call. He knows the ball should be getting to him. He knows he's open. So I don't know why we're still defending all this stuff as if we're not seeing what's happening in front of our faces. He's threw 28 touchdowns. That's great. Good teams can find quarterbacks who throw 28 touchdowns.
That's as angry as I've seen you.
I've matured, Elmo. And Javed, I agree, by the way, just in case you're wondering, I agree with you.
Is it all about Garrett, or is it about having the best receiving room?
But the problem is, you're saying it's not all about Garrett, so having a better receiving room. Rodgers is making it all about himself. First of all, Breece Hall didn't run the ball 20 times in a single game. And you know why? Because every single time, I guarantee you that when those plays, when Rodgers snaps it and he just instantly throws it right there, he's checking out of run plays. How can we talk about how we want Breece to elevate his game and be someone looking in like the CMC realm, and you're talking like over 2,000 yards from scrimmage, and he can't even get 20 yards in a single game, 20 carries in a single game? It's not possible.
So it's all Rodgers. It had nothing to do with the offense, play calling. It's all him audibling.
If I call a run play and you throw the ball to Allen Lazard for the 14th time and 2 yards instantly, what are you saying?
Maybe it's what the defense dictated.
Yeah, and they often and sometimes they dictated to us so well that he just took it like he thought it. When we played the Seattle Seahawks, what they did, they sat off the line every single time, and every time Rodgers faced up like this, what they do, they got in catch and they're getting blown up. He can't even see that it's happening.
Yep. I agree.
The Vikings were allowed to run just circles around us. Why? Because he doesn't want to use motions. He wants to stand back and shotgun and look. Well, clearly you couldn't see it. Van Ginkel's dropping off the line. He takes you for a pick six. That's the game.
I wish we had like sound bites. I give Java a standing applause right now.
I'm just saying. I don't know why we're. I watch teams
Culture.
with QBs of worse pedigree than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, I'll say this, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback I've ever watched play football. I think if you're talking about just quarterback play, he's better than Brady. He's better than Manning. He's so much more talented than these guys. But right now, that's not the guy I'm watching on my team.
I agree. So you've done prime time. You pissed him off. I usually do that. I've embraced peace and positivity now. Now you got this poor guy all upset.
I've missed seeing that passion out of Javed. I had to bring it out of him some way.
I just look, if he comes back, I'm gonna support because that's what I do, right? But I just
what's your Super Bowl prediction?
My Super Bowl prediction: I hope the Chiefs win. Fuck Brady. Fuck his GOAT status. I want Mahomes to take that shit. I watched that man shit on us my whole life.
Dude. It's all
yes,
I hate both teams.
First of all, okay, I'm not a Becton hater because Becton was one of the players I've liked. I rooted for him. I didn't like him talking shit on like Jets fans and stuff because there was a lot of people who supported him. And even while he was like slated to be a backup and not playing, and he's doing his workout stuff, and you're liking all the tweets, and you're replying to him in the comments, and it's all nice. And then as soon as he gets out, he's acting like, oh well, you know, the Jets never asked me to move, and this, that. And first of all, you wouldn't move to tackle. Don't pretend like I'd have moved to right guard. You went into the media and basically gave an interview and said because they moved me that I got hurt, and now you're acting like none of that stuff happened. And also, I'm Becton. You watch him play. Eagles fans fucking hate that guy. Like he makes a good run block and then he'll whiff on multiple sacks. Like what are we talking about? We watch him get cooked multiple times all the time because he's terrible on pass.
How many Eagle games are you watching?
I hit the Twitter, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. Becton gives up sacks. Becton gives up a sack, and I literally search up his name, Becton, on Twitter because Rich Cimini pisses me off because every time he makes a good block, I get to fucking see his tweets about it. And so then I search his name, and then I just see Eagles fans just talking about Mekhi Becton. Fuck you, you suck, this, that. And I'm like, wow, these guys are ruthless because if we had guard,
they hated Sirianni and Jalen Hurts too, so can't really count on them.
We watched Greg Van Roten play guard, and then if we had Becton playing guard like this, we would have crowned him. We'd have built a statue already outside of MetLife. Are you kidding me? So
no, but you know what you got to do now. You need to go have a nice cup of warm milk and calm down because you're very upset. You're very angry. Primetime got to. I can't believe it. You've got to just.
I'll actually say though, I don't have a problem if the Eagles win the Super Bowl. I think Joe Schoen, fuck him. He's an idiot. I loved watching the Hard Knocks. He came off as such an arrogant, just a D-bag. He thought his whole process was so much bigger than the players because, you know, we can't have a $40 million quarterback handing off to a $12 million running back. Well, the guy wouldn't be making $40 million if he didn't have the running back in the first place. But you know what? Saquon leaving, joining their rivals after the owner told him he wouldn't want to see it. And Saquon's not going to the Eagles. That my sources are telling me they're out.
It's like he had this pent up like for 2 weeks, right? It's like all this pent up.
I can't stand Joe Schoen. So Saquon Super Bowl MVP, I'd be fine with. But I have no problem right now. Mahomes not beating us. He keeps beating the Bills. I love to see this shit. It's great. So he beats the Bills and then he takes Brady's GOAT status. He's taking out two of my biggest haters. The fact that I'm watching Patriots fans, cheer for the Bills because they want to protect Brady is the funniest thing ever. I'm not gonna lie. So
have a good night, man.
Hey, you guys have a great night. I'll be in the chat.
Have a good night, John.
Later, dude. Man,
I gotta keep so bad.
Go ahead, go for it. You go pee. I'll talk to you.
I had like 5 coffees today, so.
What's up, Afram? How do you follow up Javed's call?
I don't know. It's just a lot of negativity. Everyone's getting angry for something that we don't know what's going on.
Well, he was angry about Rodgers.
To each their own.
Well, since you're Mr. Happiness,
yes.
Tell us how happy you are about this new staff.
I'm up in the air.
Why?
Well, I mean, you got a running back coach is now your quarterback coach. So, Javed. Which makes me think: are they looking to do a wildcat quarterback thing? And he's going to teach them how to run and play quarterback at the same time.
But do you have concerns where the Jets are going to be looking for the new quarterback, probably a young kid, that the guys in place will properly develop them without the experience that we were wanting them to have?
Well, we know they got to go for a quarterback. I don't know if it's this draft or next.
Wait, hold on. How did primetime piss that fast? There's no way you flushed, first of all.
No,
And
definitely not.
how do you? There's no way he went that fast.
I had to
You were
go
gone
first.
like 4 seconds.
He's got a jug right there, spittoon or whatever.
There's no way he went that fast.
You know what he's missing? He's
bladder.
missing
Small
a
bladder.
smoking jacket and a pipe with the fireplace behind him.
But dude, there's no way he went that. He was literally gone 3 seconds.
Maybe he had to go
I
bad.
was trying to get back. I didn't want to leave you alone with that for a
He
minute.
didn't want. Definitely didn't wash his hands either. There's no way he washed
Oh,
his hands.
fuck no, I didn't.
Absolutely not.
Why would I wash my hands? I'm not eating
Didn't
anything
flush.
right now.
Didn't wash your hands.
Okay, now we're getting into hygiene over here.
There's no way. He
got
was literally
wet-
gone like
You got wet wipes on the table over there. Make
He's
them
like-
happy.
he's wiping them on his shorts right now. He's like, "Ah, we'll be fine. Just do the laundry later." It just. It just
I'm not eating. I don't need to wash my hands. That's just wrong.
All right, so back to what were we talking about?
I don't know.
The
We got a lot
quarterback.
of unknowns.
Got a lot of unknowns. No, it's
Yeah.
true. It's
You can't even grade it. I mean, I don't like the quarterback coach pick. I just don't see it. But
what about
then
the O-line
again,
coach?
Anthony Lynn was the offensive coordinator for the Lions, and he was the running back coach up to that point.
Yeah,
You know, so I don't get it. I don't know how these guys switch from one to the other. And there's a lot of guys like that from what I'm seeing. They do one and they lead to another. You know,
I think a lot of those guys want that so that it can build their resume and then they can get
Yeah.
the offensive coordinator job or the head coaching job.
the
down
question
the
is
line.
how good are they at it? That's the question.
and we're
Yeah.
going to find out about all of them at the same time, which is not like
Yeah,
you have one
yeah,
new guy, you have a
exactly.
lot of new guys.
You know, and like you say, they could be an awesome staff, or it could be the Keystone Cops. For
I mean, I like the Scott Turner thing. Gave me a little bit of confidence. Where
Right.
he brought some experience to the room.
you got
North
the
Turner's
defensive
around, it helps.
coordinator, the D-line coach. They all have years of experience.
The special teams coach is interesting because he actually played the position. He was
Right.
like a special teams demon. He learned from Westhoff. He was like, that's like, all right. If you have a
And
first time
Westhoff
guy like
endorsed
that, I like, yeah.
Yeah, Westhoff endorsed them. So, I mean, and you made a good point. Maybe these are the guys they can get.
That's the concern too. That,
Okay, maybe these are the guys they get. And then when your team, sorry for that, when your team is the way it is, and what's going on, you're not going to get the guys that you want. Maybe no one wants to come here. We've seen
Well, it
that
could
with
be-
head.
Yeah, I mean, it could be
No.
guys getting blocked. Or you couldn't get interviews. Like this comment here is actually a good one from Anthony, where it's like maybe it's a 1 year guy. Like, listen, it's a placeholder now. The guy we really want will be available next year. We hire him next year. Not
Yeah.
ideal for a young quarterback, though.
That kind of tells you, are they going to stay with Rodgers for a year because there's no need to have a quarterback coach because he's going to do what he wants to do, But that's a big thing for Glenn, because if he allows him to do what he wants to do, he's going to lose that locker room.
100%.
That's it.
That's why I kind of think he's not coming back. It's like there's going a whole new regime here, a whole new just clean it out, establish new leadership here, and move on.
If he does come back, it's going to be under scrutiny. He's got to have it under scrutiny, because if he doesn't pay attention or he doesn't run the plays as Tanner wants it, then he's got to be quick to pull him out and put in the backup and basically make him accountable.
Or if Rodgers is well respected and then you bring in somebody else who plays like shit, how's that going to look?
You respect the coach for that.
Yep. If a coach has conviction in a certain way and that's what he wants to do, then I'm down. Let's do it. The players will buy in. I'm sure there's a part of the locker room that doesn't like him too. It's like there's some guys that like him, some guys that don't like him, but it's just, they want results. They want a guy they can believe in. That's all that really matters. So,
And like you said, there's no one really tweeting from that team about any of these coaches yet.
Nope.
Okay, they won't know until the training starts. Then little by little, we'll see. We'll see about the amount of guys tweeting or the little amount of guys tweeting.
Well, I'm surprised there's not more leaks now about Aaron Rodgers, where it's like Aaron Glenn's interested. Like, I'm sure after the Super Bowl, it's going to start coming leaking out. It's going to have to be.
I wonder how much they've talked. To be
They said he
honest,
texted him. I think he
I'm
said,
sure
right?
they definitely
yeah.
talked
I don't know. Have they fully sat down together with the staff? To sit down all together and say, "Hey, look, this is what we're looking for. This is how we want to run the offense." Is this something you feel you could fit in? Is this something you want to do?
Yep.
You know, as far as like Pittsburgh, if they don't sign one guy, they're going to keep the other guy. They said.
Oh, Justin
Not
Fields,
gonna
and
lose
Russell
both
Wilson. Yeah.
quarterbacks.
Yep.
So if Wilson doesn't sign, then they're going to keep what's his name?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. So
We always get Derek Carr down, man. We can get my Derek Carr dream back soon.
yeah, there's no
Works so well for the Saints.
Yeah, and like you said, if they take a quarterback in the 4th or 5th round, that's that's someone they can develop. I'm in for that, but it's got to be someone they can develop and not sit in the background and just be a 3rd round, number 3 quarterback all the time.
But the thing is, I just keep saying, you can draft all the quarterbacks you want. You got to coach them up, and these guys got a lot to prove, man.
Yeah,
lot.
It's
gonna be interesting.
We don't know. It's a very big unknown. All right.
And that's why it doesn't feel like the right year to be drafting and trying to develop a quarterback with so much unknown, because we've already destroyed how many other quarterbacks in that same kind of situation.
Yeah, but you got to start someplace.
It's got to pull the band-aid up sooner or later. You know what it is? Primetime just doesn't want to lose this year. He's already facing the fact that we're going to lose this year.
If they don't do it this year, they got to do it next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't feel confident this year, what's going to change next year?
You'd at least have an offensive coordinator and a head coach that have a year under their belt.
But you don't have someone that you can see being developed. You're not going to see someone. If you don't have somebody that you know is going to help you win as a quarterback or is going to do what you say, what's going to give you the confidence that when you do pick a quarterback, that they're going to be they're going to coach this kid up in 2026, let's say.
Well, at least you would have a full year of results to go off of.
Off of what quarterback?
Rodgers.
He gives you the best chance to win this year.
Yeah. If you win with Tyrod, yeah. But Tyrod has, if you put another guy,
Tyrod Taylor is the best chance to win for the Jets in 2025.
No, I'm just saying if you go with him and they do well, then you're saying, hey, these guys.
Well, then you should be talking about a trade for Matthew Stafford. If we're really going at best chance to win, it's not Rodgers either. Go trade for somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know where his mindset is. New York would be his best. I know he likes New York, and he's who,
Rodgers?
Rodgers, yeah. And there's more.
See, I don't like it. It shouldn't even be like the Jets should watch all the tape, watch all his throws, see where he's at, make an assessment. Like, listen, here's the deal. It's February 4th. We don't want you back, or we want you back. What do you want to do? Exactly. Tell us now, or we're moving on.
Yeah, I'm not waiting a month for him to do his retreats or whatever he's doing. Because you're just falling back into that trap.
So
you got to figure out your cap space and everything else going into free agency. You can't wait for it, and you got to find another option at quarterback.
Yeah, right now you only got $20 million, so you're gonna have to do something.
Yep.
If he leaves, then you can cut Devontae and get yourself $32 million back. Yeah, it's not much money you got to play with. You got to do some
a long year.
Yeah, you got to do some serious restructuring if you want to bring back, get some money in.
Rebuild.
It's gonna be it's gonna be
shake your head all you want. They sold this soul by getting Rodgers. They thought they were going to win. This is the aftermath.
It's true.
It's not just the Jets. It would have been any other team if they sold this soul, giving him everything he wanted, and they'd be stuck with the same draft.
Other teams find ways to turn their organization around in a year.
Yeah, but those are other teams, and now we have a new staff.
They do it with a quarterback.
Yeah,
C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels.
All right, so the next 2 years are a pass for everybody.
I'm not saying give it a pass, but it's not this best chance to win. What are we going to win? 5, 6, 7, 8 games? You're not winning a lot. You're not. You need a quarterback.
You want to see what he can do.
We all said last year's team should have at least been a playoff team, if not competing for the division, if they were healthy and better coached.
So better coach.
Yeah, but that was with the shitload of assumptions.
The real deal.
Yeah, we thought Tyron Smith would be a solid.
We thought Tyron Smith was going to be good. Hassan Reddick was going to be good.
Yeah.
All these guys
was better, and he's a long-term answer. Problem solved.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's when Rodgers started playing a little bit better. When
Reed's going to be gone. Mosley's going to be gone. Conklin could be gone.
Sherwood was better than Mosley.
He could be gone too. He can go to Falcons with Ulbrich.
Yeah, depends on who pays him now.
Yep.
I can't do another rebuild.
It's not up to you, my friend.
Embrace the rebuild.
I can't.
Embrace the mooge.
We got to do trust the rebuild. Our next shirt.
It's every 3 years. I can't do it.
Trust the rebuild. We're experts at it now. We know the process. We know the excuses. We know the pains.
Yeah, and they still never get it right.
But now we know. Now we know what stage of the rebuild we are. Like this is stage 2 where we hate everybody. This is stage 3 when it starts to fall apart. This is stage 4 when they sign veterans to try to save their ass and it's not going to work.
Yeah, it is. And we have no choice. They got rid of the coaches, the head coach, the GM. This is what you get. Okay. This at least Glenn, he wants to be a Jet. Not someone who wants to just get some experience. But that's the best you're getting.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right?
the Jets will, to that last comment, the Jets will bottom out and then they'll find ways to win 2 of their last 3, and then they'll be picking 2 or 3 again. It'll be the same thing.
There's nothing we can do.
Nope.
It's
The poison we picked.
That's exactly right. It's the poison we picked. We sold our soul to the devil, and now we're
Don't call Rodgers the devil.
No, the devil. With the football devil. Who's Aaron Rodgers?
We went all in with our chips, and
so now I have a question. I have a very important question here.
Yeah.
When you go on the Afterburner show, do you use the same comments you use on this show, or do you have like unique takes and like you kind of spice it up a little bit?
it's about the same.
You
We're not gonna spice it up. What is it to spice up?
Maybe you'll drop a couple of curses. You get a little like feisty
No,
over there.
no.
So you're
I'm the
professional.
same
You're
person.
professional
I'm the
year
same
round.
person. I go on to help those guys. Those guys,
Help? How do you help? What help do
I
you?
just
offer
go
them?
on because no one else is coming on. Me and Armand are the only ones that come on. They get the same guys, but
That's a shot
they're
fired
also-
right there. God damn.
Damn.
Yeah, no, no one likes to. You guys
Going
get
on,
a
but
lot
nobody
more
else is.
callers, but
Damn.
who's that? Who's cursed out? Yes, I've cursed. I've cursed them many times here as well, but
When you get really mad.
no, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm just
All right. So
I'm
right
like
now,
Javed,
it's February 3rd. Your prediction about Aaron Rodgers, is he here or not here?
I don't think he will be. I don't think after they talk that they'll decide to keep him.
Okay. And then what's your Super Bowl prediction?
I'm hoping that the Chiefs lose on a controversial call, and
Like
that
a
would be
flopping
fitting. That would be fitting, and let them say something about that.
I'm down for that. Well, Afram, good talking to you again. Good to see you smiling. I'm sure you're gonna go on your other shows right now. Prime time.
No, there's no. I just go to you, and I go
Prime
to
time.
I just go to
What?
the Afterburners.
He streams more than you do. Right
What?
after this show, he goes on other shows. He's like on 3 or 4 shows. This guy.
Where am I going after this?
This is what you do. Dude, the minute we hang up the show, I'll go on Twitter, check things out. There's Afram on another stream. Like this
Nah.
guy.
That's,
All right,
Yeah,
don't
so
listen-
innocent.
don't-
He's
don't
everywhere.
listen to him.
You got to keep him in the waiting room longer then.
He's been drinking left and right. He's dreaming now.
Drinking.
Yeah.
All I see is Afterburn is this, Jake show there, Ryan show there. They're all over the place.
Dan had a show right after
This guy.
that Monday.
Yep.
Never
was
forget
the
where
only
you
time.
started.
He's
Afram.
He's usually on a Thursday.
He's like that, dude. The minute our show's over, he's on that stream instantly. Boom. And I think he's taking your takes and sharing them over there now is what he's doing.
There you go. There you go.
See that. See that.
Unbelievable. This is the
Never
loyalty.
forget your
I
roots,
love.
Afram. Remember where you
come on.
started.
Afram, have a good night, man.
You as well, guys. Be
Have
well.
a good night.
Very interesting stuff here. So wait, hold on. Where is this? Shit, hold on 1 second. I gotta go back to this. What's Afterburners? Shit. Somebody chat. Damn it. Yeah, Armand, I'm gonna be on Afterburners. I think a week from Thursday. So I think it's whatever, February 9th, because he's on Thursday nights. I'm going on like a week from this Thursday, I believe. So got a fundraiser coming up. So everybody stay tuned. I'm gonna die doing it, but you guys can all stay tuned and help me. All right. What's up, Matt? Neutrally optimistic this week.
Yeah, I figured I won't be grumpy. Thinking about with the coaching stuff, it's interesting. The defense, I don't really have a problem with. There's nothing there that draws my eye. I'm okay with Wilkes. I think he's a decent DC. Is he a superstar? No, but he can build a solid defense, I think. And if he's got good coaches, and I'm not worried. And you got Aaron Glenn there, so that's a totally different thing. On the offense, it's the biggest problem is it's open in the air. It's opaque. You don't know what these guys are. You really don't know. It's not like, I thought Scott Turner might have been a good candidate for OC for a couple of reasons. One, might have brought his father with him as an advisor, and he'd listen to him because he was kind of doing that. And also, he's done play calling. We don't know what this guy has done. Engstrom, whatever his name is. We don't know what he's done. We know he worked under Ben Johnson. We know that Aaron Glenn worked with him. Did Aaron Glenn hire him because he was on the Lions and he figures he knows the offense and he liked the offense there? Did he hire him because he's a friend? We don't know. We have to trust him. I mean, basically, I'm not knocking Glenn. I really don't know. But it makes you feel a little unsettled. The guy that's the quarterback coach, he would make me think that they were seriously thinking of trying to bring Rodgers back because he's the kind of coach that you could deal with Rodgers' ego. He's a guy that's been around a long time. He's not a hothead. He's not a superstar. He's just been in this job a long time. And he kind of strikes me from everything, a little bit I've read about him. I don't know him from a hole in the wall either, but he strikes me as the kind of guy that, could deal with a Rodgers and stuff like that if he's there. Is he a guy to build a young quarterback? I don't think so.
But that's the question. Like, I don't at this point, I genuinely don't care about Aaron Rodgers. He's like a 1-year guy at best. My whole worry is we got to develop and groom a franchise quarterback. And that comes down to the coordinator, the quarterback coach, the O-line coach.
And this is where it comes down to. I mean, the coordinator, as far as I know, he's never helped build a young quarterback either. They had Jared Goff there. Before that, they weren't there when Stafford's. They had Goff there, right? So you got another thing there. We don't know about him. The quarterback coach, he's just not whatever. I liked hiring Turner as an experienced hand, but now comes a problem. I've seen other people say the same thing I'm saying. I'm worried because if Angstrom, whatever his name is, comes in and he's got a chip on his shoulder because he got passed over in Detroit, is he going to see hiring these experienced people as advisors? Is he going to feel insulted like, oh, they think I can't do this? Is he going to get a chip on his shoulder? Is he going to listen to them?
It should be part of a team. It's a cumulative effort to have a great offense.
Well, you hope, but you know what? A guy comes in, he's now the OC. He wants him. He's probably.
But Aaron Glenn worked with him though. You think he should probably figured that out already by now though.
And think about all the issues that the Jets have had over the last 15 years on the offensive side of the ball. If you're the offensive coordinator, even if you're just pulling the strings, hiring the right guys to help you, if you actually get it figured out here, that's going to lead to a head coaching job eventually.
100%.
You hope. I mean, yeah, you hope. I'm just saying that's one of my concerns. I think they do need. I'm glad they hired Turner. He's an experienced hand. I don't think it may not be enough. I'd like to see somebody else in there as well. There's a number of people. People mentioned Frank Reich. I mean, Peterson's not going to come in here. I think he's going to wait and hope for another head coaching job. I think that anybody like that, it would be valuable because, again, just so that he learns, because this is a new coordinator. He's trying to deal with all this stuff. I think the biggest problem with the Jets, I mean, looking at this whole thing, and I have trust, I don't think, put it this way, I don't think Aaron Glenn is the same as Robert Saleh. They're two totally different people.
I agree.
Saleh, I think some of his stuff was surface level. I think he thought the words was going to handle things. I think also Saleh hired people that were his friends. I'm not sure Glenn would do that. I don't think he was doing the same thing. He hired friends and buddies. And I think Saleh kind of had the attitude like, well, we're the next generation of the NFL. I think he had a bit of an ego thing. They're like, we're young guys. We don't need the old guys. We can go do this. And it screwed him. It screwed him royally.
Well, I mean, you're trying to have faith in Aaron Glenn being very intelligent, very well researched, maybe confiding in Parcells to get insight of what should I do here, what should I do there to help develop his staff. That's all I'm hoping, because
I'm hoping too. And again, that kind of goes along against what we're trying to say here, because you figure like if he's talking to Parcells or even Westhoff or any of these old hands, why is he hiring all these inexperienced people? Now, maybe he's gotten good recommendations on. Maybe Ben Johnson told him that this guy is great, that he could easily replace me. I really don't know. And I'm trying
those are the only guys that want the job, like Tyson was saying before. It's very possible.
Well, that's another. We don't know. We don't know. There's so much about this we don't know. We don't know who they talk to and turn them down.
Well, it's to me, it's what we don't know, but we could also assume too is like, Aaron Glenn, he's putting his his career on the line by hiring these guys. But at the same time, if you're going to take a job with the Jets, the first question you have on the offense is, what quarterback am I working with? Oh, you don't have one? Or you know who it is? I'll wait a year. Wouldn't you? I'm not going to take a chance of being especially in this market. If your offense sucks after 1 year, we're all going to be saying, fire this guy, get him out of here, he's terrible. Well, but being honest, especially a first-time coordinator, if this guy bombs out this year, we're going to be like, no, bro. Get him out of here. Bring in Anthony Lynn or somebody else. You know how this is going to work. I saw
an interesting comment on one of your videos, and some guy saying, "What does Jets fans want?" The Lions did. They had all new coaches, and look what they did. And I'm like, you know what? The Lions were in a different situation.
100%.
They had Goff there first of all. They had a quarterback. It was also a different situation. The Lions, as bad as they can be, and they had a pretty good bad history too. they also had a good history there. And it's not the same thing as the Jets. Here, we don't know what the quarterback is. We're coming off a lot of controversy. We're coming off with a bad owner, with a lot of pieces. And can Glenn be like Dan Campbell? I hope so. I think he's probably not going to be as rough as Dan Campbell, but I think he'll be a little classier probably. I love Dan Campbell. I
just hope he's allowed to be himself more than anything.
That's going to be the big question too, because I just hope that he is authentic to himself, that he's authentic with the players. He doesn't let Woody or Elhai or whoever moron is telling him there's a certain way you should act, because the Joe Torre act doesn't work. Joe Torre was a good baseball manager, but I hate his style. I think it sucked. And in football, it doesn't work.
No, but I think Glenn has he's got a little attitude to him. Like you saw it in the press conference when he was talking about like, well, Parcells says this. Like, I'm not Parcells, I'm Aaron Glenn. Like, but he's got to keep that demeanor. Like, it's easy saying your first press conference, but when you get in the locker room in front of your players, you got to say it, but you also got to enforce it and do what you say. That was one of Saleh's biggest things. He talked this, accountability, this, that, and everything, and there was not a sense of it. Especially now with this team, because right now there's a lot of dysfunction and there's not a lot of discipline.
Well, we're going to see. I think we're going to see a lot of this come out of what happens with him and Moogie, right? What players they get rid of.
Yep, bingo.
Are we going to see players that we all have kind of said, "What the hell is this guy doing on the team?" Does he get rid of them? If he starts having malcontents, does he get rid of them? Yep. Can he, if they decide to keep Rodgers, can he convince Garrett Wilson and say, look, it's not going to be the same thing. We're not going to let Rodgers do what he did, where he was going for stats. That's what I honestly feel. Yep. He was going for stats. He was going to burnish his legacy or whatever you want to call it. And I think that if he, is able to convince Wilson, that's going to be a major thing. And I think having been a player, it gives him an advantage. But it's really a non-optimal situation. We all knew that coming in here. I don't want to be, the reason I said the neutrally optimistic is because I don't want to be sitting there blowing smoke up people's butts and saying, this is great, it's wonderful, Aaron Glenn is great, I like him. And again, we don't know. But I'm also not going to be the gloom and doom, this is the same as Saleh 2.0 or Herm or anybody else. Glenn is very different. It's a different situation. But in some ways, it's worse.
But it's listen. I'm a big fan of him. Like I like him, always liked him. I'm rooting for him. You're rooting for all these guys, but just not even being a negative Jet fan. It's just based on the way we watch football all these years and the way we watch teams fail over all these years. It's from certain positions, certain position coaches, and that's where you're like we all talked about it over and over. We need a great O-line coach. We need this. We need that. And now we get the opposite. We're like, no, it's okay. All right, we're hoping it's okay.
We hope. We don't know. The O-line coach, we don't know why he didn't go after. Somebody said Manchek. He was whatever his last name is. He was one of them.
Yep. I
mean, obviously, if we're going to poach Callahan, but I don't know what he's doing these days, if he's still with Cleveland or whatever, but Callahan would have been another one. I'm hoping, again, Aaron Glenn saw the way that guy worked. He saw the offensive line. He may have talked to the Lions offensive line coach and said, is this guy any good? You hope. But that's all we can go on. And I'm not going to be negative. I'm not going to react. It's the same old story. It isn't. In some ways, it's better. In some ways, it's worse. This is not a rebuild team, which is the other problem. If this was a dead rebuild team, no quarterback, lack of talent, we've lost a lot of players. We had to get rid of players because of cap and stuff like that, and we have to rebuild. It's a totally different story. This is a team
but hold on.
that has talent.
No, it has.
But the problem is some of that talent is coming due. I mean, this is the thing. It's not like.
But you could be. But you're not too far away from having no receivers on this team.
Exactly.
Devontae Adams gone. Alan Lazard gone. Corley hasn't played yet, and Garrett Wilson can get traded. Where's your wide receiver group? I'm not saying it's happening, but it's like for this team that everybody says we have talent, they've got to make some crucial decisions, and they make a different decision. Even if Lazard and Devontae are gone, now you have one receiver on your team. Now you got to find another one, and you got to hope Corley's good, and you're like these.
And you got all these things with defensive players. What are you going to do about
the tight end group? Could be completely revamped because they could all be gone.
Could be. I mean, again, you hope saying that you're going to do it in the draft is a crapshoot. So there's a lot of questions here. What I'm saying is, though, we're not a total rebuild. This is not what it was like under Gase a couple of years ago when we had real crap. I mean, but the problem is, you're right. We're on the edge. We've got players whose contracts are coming due. Can we handle it under the cap? We've got Rodgers' cap hit, which is going to poison us for a couple of years. And I don't think there's any real way around it that easily. People say even if he stays and they renegotiate the contract, I don't know how much they can do. So it's like, I'm not an expert on the cap, and it's not
But so the question, but we're saying it's not a rebuild. But if you're trying to find your quarterback and you got to find a whole new receiver group and a whole new tight end group, and you want to rebuild, like
well, the other thing, and the other question is,
here
comes an interesting question that makes it even twice as difficult. It's exactly what we're talking about. What is Glenn's vision? Also, what's the vision that he's been given? Has he been told, right, coming in here, we want to win next year because we do have a good team right now, and then we'll have a long-term vision on top of that. It never works. That win now stuff, it very rarely or never works because it bombs you. Aaron Rodgers is a classic example of that. It's poisoned us. That because they failed so miserably with Zach Wilson and they had a decent defense and a fairly good team, they went for Rodgers, betting that they could win now. And
they went for Reddick. They went for Reddick and Devontae Adams too.
They tried. Big. That's the thing. They tried. They thought that was Woody because Woody said, "Well, if we had Devontae Adams, everything would be better." We got Reddick.
That's Aaron Rodgers, dude. That fucking Aaron Rodgers probably in the office every day begging for Devontae to be on the team.
But the point is, this is the thing, and this is the thing about not having him. Because the other thing I worry about is having such a rookie staff. You keep Rodgers, and he starts pulling his King Rodgers shit.
That's a problem.
Who gets backed up and how? I don't care what Woody Johnson has said. What Woody Johnson says doesn't mean shit because I know he lies through his teeth. So if he's still here and he starts playing his stuff or he starts audibling out of every play and says, I don't want to do this and does what he wants to do, is somebody – now Aaron Glenn, you hopefully would stamp on it, but if he's been told not to, what do you do? And
yeah, but you think Aaron Glenn would honestly take this job if he's going to have those kind of restrictions where he can't do what he wants?
The problem is he takes a job, Woody promises him, and then you're in the practical reality of it. And Woody's like, we really can probably win this year. And, Aaron's Aaron, and, you got to let it. It's like, that's what worries me. I worry about it. I may be wrong. I think he's a strong person. Hopefully Aaron had told him, look, and he was in a good position when he was negotiating with Woody and saying, look, I want to have full control of this. I need to run the show. I'm not talking about personnel, meaning, running the show
that way. A lot
way.
Of power.
And maybe even with even hiring the GM, maybe he did have something to do with Moogie being hired. Again, we don't know. But I think that you can't, you can't bank everything on the positivity of this. One thing I'm happy about, though, guys, a lot of people are talking about hiring Joe Brady as head coach. I am so glad they didn't do it. After watching Buffalo against Kansas City, he's a moron. They had all those fourth downs where Allen's running the ball, and they run up the A gap. And Spagnuolo knew it, and Spagnuolo was like, ha, he put 900 pounds of guys there.
Man, that's just –
that was your guy.
He's not that great. He's not that bright a coach. I'm sorry.
Spagnuolo?
No.
Oh, so
Spagnuolo. I wanted him. You know what? I wish they had hired him as head coach. Honestly, I wanted Spagnuolo. He's a fantastic defensive coordinator. He's a bright guy. He's been around a long time. He knows New York. It would have been good. But you know what? We have what we have. It's what we have. What I'm hoping is that they can find a middle path, that we can do something where we get a quarterback in here. If it's not Rodgers, I don't know who it'll be. It may be bringing in. It could be bringing in Carr, which would be ironic.
I'd be all about it. I'd be so ready for that.
Is Cousins technically free?
He's
not great.
Not yet.
I mean, you know what he's going to give you, right? So there's guys like that. We got Tyrod. It's not going to be Travis long term because I don't know. We don't even know about Travis. He's years away at best, if he can even get on the field. So it's going to be rough. It's going to be, and I'm hoping that they can leave. You know what I'm hoping for next year?
Miracles.
That they can give us hope. That we can see things. We can see the way they work. We see them learning. Things click. They win some games. I don't know if they're going to go into the playoffs. I'm not even going to go there. With whatever
you know what it is though? I'm hoping for hope too, because if not, this guy up here is gonna have a meltdown. Like it's just if we don't already. So now what's your Super Bowl prediction?
For 56 years, and let me tell you something. I understand it, and it's just like I'm. That's why I'm not putting too much. I'm not investing too much in it because if I do, I'll go crazy.
Regardless, though, I don't understand how anybody can go into next year writing it off as a rebuild year, saying, "Oh, 6-7 wins, that's fine, that's acceptable." Like we haven't made the playoffs in 14 years. How we can go into a season with that?
We don't have a quarterback.
Regardless of the quarterback, head coaches, we've seen other teams turn it around quicker. I think the bar and the standard should be a little bit fucking higher here.
You know what? I wish, but the problem is. You want to do that with Aaron Rodgers that has limitations. I mean, basically, if you're talking about doing that to win next year, maybe get into the playoffs, you're talking Aaron Rodgers, and it brings a lot of negatives with it. including that you're some ways you're sacrificing the future. It's not like we have a young quarterback that Aaron Rodgers is going to help develop. So that means the next year we're back. Let's say Rodgers, I don't think you're going to get more than a year out of him.
Nope.
So the next year you're going to have to draft a quarterback, and now you're really trying to struggle. So any way you do it.
Yeah, but
it's
they
gonna be
won
a
because
problem.
Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, Jared Goff. It was all the quarterbacks played at a ridiculously high level.
That's
what we
it, but they had them there. I mean,
We don't have
Daniels was drafted, and he was a real deal. Goff was there.
Daniel
And
Jones.
this is the
prime
thing.
time.
These good quarterbacks are there, and we don't. Right now, the Jets don't have anybody like that. You're not going to get them in
Derek
this draft.
Carr. I can't wait for these shows. We're coming down to Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota.
Oh, Daniel. I mean,
I'll
come
be
on.
miserable all fucking
If they get Daniel Jones, I will. I'm sorry. The guy is maybe an okay backup. He's not. I don't care. He didn't. Yes, he didn't have the personnel. He didn't have. That's always the same excuses. He's not that. He's not that great.
Derek Carr.
Mariota, forget it. He's a backup. He's never been anything. You know, you would do better staying with Tyrod Taylor. And I
Another
don't
guy
know what
I like.
else is out there in the quarterback carousel at the moment. Sam Darnold.
Not
That's
happening.
Forget
the
it.
one name you can get me on board with.
Sam
No,
Darnold.
Prime time. You got to embrace.
Sam
the-
Darnold, you've got to have the perfect situation. The Jets
not
don't
coming
have the
back
perfect
here.
situation.
Here we go. There we got it right here. Mike White.
I can embrace Mike White again. I can embrace.
Come
that.
on, now we're really getting at it. I mean, it's just not there. If he can pull this off, I'll give him all the credit in the world. I just don't think my gut feeling with Rodgers is I'm still 50-50 whether they're going to bring him back. But the fact that it's been silent tells me something. Because if he was coming back, I think by now they would have made an announcement.
Tim Boyle. So who do you have who you have winning the Super Bowl on Sunday?
You know, I think that the only way the Eagles can win it is Barkley's going to need to get 200 yards. Throwing against that Kansas City defense,
Jalen Hurts is banged up.
Spagnuolo's got that defense playing as good as any I've seen in a long time. If Barkley can run against them and they can chew up the clock and keep Mahomes off the field, Philadelphia can win. But I think it's going to come down to somebody else said it's going to come down to mistakes. I think if there are mistakes, it's mostly going to be on Philadelphia. I think Hurts will throw a pick because Kansas City's defense is rough. Chris Jones gets in his face. They're stunting the way they disguise things. They're just an amazing defense.
Just amazing.
And again, I'm not knocking the offense. I'm just saying they've got an incredible defense. The offense doesn't have to be that good to win. You just have to keep from making mistakes. If Mahomes fumbles, if Mahomes starts throwing picks, different story. Philadelphia has a great defense, but I don't think against Kansas City that they're going to be able to. It's not going to be that easy. And if they're going to need Barkley to keep that ball on the ground. He gets 200 yards, they could win the Super Bowl. But I think it's going to be Kansas City.
Thanks for calling, man. We appreciate it.
You got it.
Have a good
Good
night.
talking to you.
He always got good points, man.
Yep.
Like, well thought out. So prime time. Now that we've spoken for an hour and a half, you embrace the rebuild?
Trying my best. But no, I will never embrace another rebuild until I actually see results. That's just where I'm at this point.
They have a lot to prove, and it starts with Aaron Rodgers. The whole decision with quarterback is going to be so damn interesting, man. That is going to be pivotal. Like, especially if Rodgers says, I want to come back. That's when it gets interesting. Because Aaron Glenn had the balls to say, you know what, we don't want you back.
I think it gets even more interesting if the offensive line is in Aaron Rodgers' corner, if Garrett Wilson actually does want him back, and it's not all the BS that a lot of the media and some fans are making it out to be. Like, they actually do get along. Like, if the players want him back and then the head coaching staff says, no, like we're intimidated by him or we don't want him back for whatever reason, then you got a whole mess of issues, including just who's the next guy that you're going to bring in? Like, who gives you a better chance to win next year?
Matthew Stafford. There's just no answers, man. There's just not. There's no clear, concise answer. Like, you know what? I'm happy with that. You can literally find a hole with every guy that we talk about.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
I'm down with this. This is where we should go. Flacco
Timeless
What?
wonder. Yeah, why not?
or Jameis Winston. Let's go for the excitement every week.
That would be fun, at least.
Wait, Jameis
400
Winston
yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. Yeah. Shit.
will score points. Oh. Give PT a hat. Yeah, don't shake his hands, man. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll guess week by week we'll figure it out. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And then maybe we'll have some Aaron Rodgers news next Monday. You never know.
Let's hope.
I guarantee there will be, dude. It's gonna start leaking out. It started today with McAfee. I guarantee it.
Yep.
Talk to you guys next week.
Have a good night.
Primetime defeated.